cut this. This is with our paper tape. All of our paper tape on the site is the same medium tack stuff. We have it 6-inch and 12-inch, 100 foot and 300 feet. Foot and feet. It's different.
It's okay.
So I put a piece of tape on each side. Well, first I should say I measured this space, and then I cut the decal to proportion the space how I felt comfortable. There's no like formula for it. It's just whatever you think is going to be the best fit. Tape it on there. You gotta have a chair too with wheels so you can move around. Nobody wants to be hunched over. Alright, so now that it's on there and the general idea of where I want it, I want to make sure that it's level now. So you have to, what I do is I pick a line on the van or vehicle that I think is going to be the straightest. I'm just going to measure off this bottom line here at the bottom of the door. It looks pretty straight. And what I did was, one of the best things with the paper transfer tape is you can draw on it in pencil. So I took a ruler and I drew a straight line under the graphic and right under the phone number. Now, this works great if you have a big cursive font. You can find the bottom of it and draw a pencil line, and then you can measure to the pencil line wherever you're at instead of trying to figure out which letters are even, and you end up with a crooked design.
Yeah, so I'll zoom in here for a second so you can see these pencil lines. The one here and the one down there.
Yeah. I always do a couple. I mean, I only ever measure off one of them. I'm going to measure off this one. But I always like to do a couple of them because I might be in a situation where this line works better for like space issues or whatever. Or this line might work better. So this one's just going to be more comfortable to measure off of as opposed to this one. So I'm just going to measure off this second one here. Now, if I wanted to, I could, because this is a flat, it has a bunch of flat letters, I could have did the R and the L and not did the line. So if you don't end up with a line when you're out and about, you don't have to panic. Or panic. Sometimes I panic. So whenever you measure, you want to measure left and right and then left, or right and then left and then right. You always want to make sure you go back, because when it gets adjusted up, if you're moving it a whole lot to one side, then it might throw off the other side, especially on a really long view.
Make sure you guys let me know if you can hear them all right. If you can't, that's a problem. So.
Yeah, we are outside. And I just picked 7 inches. It was like, when I put the tape measure on there, 7 was pretty close to this line, so I just picked that one. It's not going to throw it off too much. That's right, and then left of it. Now this was 7. I go back and it's actually a little above 7 now. Move it down. Just there. So it's on there.
So now it's all lined up.
Now it's all lined up. Step back. Admire the work. Alright, I'm going to take a squeegee and kind of squeegee this out so it conforms to the shape of the van. Your vinyl memory. It helps when you're applying it that it already knows where it wants to go. I've talked about that a lot. Plus, this helps if you, when you're applying the transfer tape, if you didn't squeegee the transfer tape down hard enough, now's a good chance to give it a once over and make sure you get it. Alright, now we're going to do the hinge method, which is creating a hinge with a piece of tape and applying it in 2 sections. So, I'm just going to get a large, if I can, piece of masking tape that goes to the top all the way to the bottom. This is the same roll that failed when we did the storefront in Bristol, so. Hopefully it doesn't fail. Alright, so top to bottom creates the hinge. Squeegee. I'm going to do the left side first. Alright, so this part folds over, and then you want to remove the decal and the transfer tape by rolling the backing back off. So watch out. So now this is all pulled back. We need to get rid of this. So now that I have this part folded over onto the hinge where the tape is, I'm just going to rip this off straight down. For that.
There we go.
Just waiting for the car to leave. So now I can apply this side. No interruptions, I guess. So you just want to start right to left, and then when you apply it, you don't want to do the center and then the top and then the bottom or whatever. You want to work your way over so everything gets rolled down at once.
What did you clean the van with before you applied?
Windex, paper towels. I washed it yesterday. Just the back. And then I just did a quick wipe down with the Windex. It did look dirty because it's all scratched up, but it's just... You can never squeegee enough.
You're welcome.
Alright, so now that this side's on, we no longer need the piece of tape here, because the transfer tape is creating the hinge now. I'm going to remove this. Wash your toes.
Oh, my toes. Thank you.
Now we fold this over, and then the transfer tape comes off on this side. Roll it back. Don't pull up.
So helpful. You make it look so easy.
It is easy. You just have to do it.
You do. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Jan, when it's done, you can see it. You can rewatch it. We'll post it, so you can watch it from the beginning.
I got a bubble. I'm just gonna force it out.
Oh, I heard it. Well, pop.
That was a big bubble, so I was able to push it out. There's a teeny tiny one here.
It says like, I agree, you can make it look easy.
Alright, so now there's 2 pieces of transfer tape here. I used one here and then one here because I didn't have a piece big enough. So if you buy a 6-inch roll and you have a 12-inch project, you can just overlap it. The only thing is, when you overlap the transfer tape, you're more likely to get bubbles right along this line and this line because they overlap. I don't know why, science, something, it just happens. So I don't want to remove the transfer tape all at once. I'm going to remove this top piece first to try and eliminate some of those bubbles. If you pull it up at the same time, you're more likely to get more bubbles in there.
So we got a couple. When you remove the decal from the paint, will it damage the paint? What do you use to remove it?
You can use Rapid Tack. We don't sell it because we can't ship it. Rapid Tack vinyl remover. That's really good stuff. You can just spray it on there and it works into the adhesive. It's like Gooby Gone on steroids. As far as the adhesive and the decal messing with the paint, it won't mess with it at all. It actually preserves it. If you have this on here for a couple of years and then you take it off, the paint behind it is going to be newer looking than the paint on the vehicle. So if you're leasing a car, don't put any decals on it because it'll fade the paint and your logo will be on there forever. But as far as having it on there for a couple of years, it's not going to do anything.
Do you prefer wet or dry application?
Single layer, I prefer the Hinge method, just like I did now. If it's 2 layers, I prefer the wet method, which I'm going to show in a second. So now I'm pulling off this side. Are there any more questions?
No. You can rewind. When we post the video at the end, you can rewatch the whole thing from the beginning.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see it, but if you get in close here, there's actually a line that goes across where that transfer tape was doubled up. You can work some of it out. But there's still a couple little bubbles. I don't stress about them because in the sun, it's just going to come out anyway. In about a week, none of the bubbles will be in there. So when you apply something and there's a ton of bubbles in it, as long as you're not giving it to your customer like that, you wait a week, put it in the sun, and more science happens, and and they all go away. All right, so that was the Hinge method, dry, nothing special, except some scratches that were here previously. Now we're going to do the wet method.
Is this water, or is this?
This is not all-purpose cleaner. This is water and like 2 drops of dish soap. Shake it up. There's not a lot of dish soap in there, but there's a little bit in there just to make it a little slippery. Now, the adhesive on the Oracal 651, this is the difference between the 651 and the 631. The adhesive on the 651 is a solvent-based adhesive. So you could dunk this in a pool and then put it on your car and it'll stay because it's a solvent-based adhesive. If you have the Oracal 631 series, is a water-based adhesive. That's why it's safe for your painted walls in your house. There's nothing there to eat away at the paint. You put a 631 decal on your car, it's going to last for a long time. It's just more likely that the rain and stuff will eat away at it.
Is that valid? Somebody said, that looks so good. How long will that vinyl last in Texas heat?
Oh, that's a good question. It should last 4 to 5 years, I'd say. It's rated 6 years, but 4 to 5 years in the Texas heat, it should last. I would just be concerned with fading of the vehicle paint. And honestly, I'm not from Texas, so I don't know. Maybe we have some Texas followers that tell us.
do know.
I don't know.
3 to 7 years.
In Texas heat?
That's what LA said.
Yeah.
La.
So there you go. Yeah, I'd be interested in really, putting some stuff out there. Okay, so any more questions?
651 vinyl for both? Yes, for both layers.
Yes, both layers. Soap, 2 drops of soap, water, generously. And then it allows you to slide it around. Looks good, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to push out all the water. A lot of people say, oh, you have to leave it on overnight, you have to wait a day because the water behind it. So what's happening there is they're not squeegeeing out all the water. So when they pull the transfer tape away, there's still water behind the decal and it pulls up the vinyl as well. But if you squeegee all the water out, then the solvent-based adhesive grips the vinyl in front of it.
CJ says, couldn't you assemble that before you put it on?
You could. You absolutely could. But if you assemble it before, I think it's more time-consuming to assemble it beforehand than it would be to do it this way. Plus, if you assemble it beforehand and you lay the vinyl down on top of each other, dry, you're never going to be able to separate those two without stretching the vinyl. With the wet method, you can move it around a bunch until you get it exactly where you want it.
Check that out. Great tip. Awesome, CJ.
Awesome.
Thanks for the questions. We love questions.
Yes, questions are
Yeah.
awesome. All right, so I could apply this all at once, but there's more room for error, so I'm going to cut this in half. I recommend scissors. About that. Less room for chopping a letter in half. That.
Cammy said, "Where are your safety goggles, young man?"
It's soap and water. I could use, you could use, what's that? No More Tears? Baby shampoo.
Mm. In the spray bottle, it is like 2 drops of Dawn dish detergent and water. Nice, dude. What are you, pro or something?
I've done a couple.
You've been doing this for years.
Yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of practice, but that's what one of the best things about that wet method. Trust me, the first time, a couple times I did this, I would have been 10 minutes into that and respraying every 30 seconds to try and reapply it to get it into the right spot. One thing I just want to, super important to remember whenever you're doing this stuff, everything can be fixed, everything can be recut. You don't have to get it done in one shot. Just try it out. Doesn't work out, try it again.
Does that wet method work on other things like wine glasses?
Yeah, you could do it on wine glasses. I don't like to do it on stuff that's small. I don't really like to do the wet method for single colors. I just prefer the wet method. It's nothing against the process. But for a wine glass, something that small, I would be, I don't know, maybe it's just too dainty for me, like to be squeegeeing out all that water that's right behind the little tiny decal. I'd prefer to just stick it on there. But yes, it can be done. It's good, right?
It does. I love it.
This is the yellow-green. Yellow-green 651.
Dainty. Thank you for the answer.
I've made wine glasses. I've made lots of wine glasses too, so I have nothing against them.
Ooh. In the breeze.
It's a little windy.
Giving me a little bit of a shower over here. Yes, do you have to use the paper transfer paper for the wet method to work?
Yes. The clear is not recommended by the manufacturers to use the wet method. I've done it. The only problem is the water makes the adhesive on the clear real gummy and hard to work with. If you, especially the clear, the ultra clear transferite, when that gets wet, it turns white, and then the adhesive gets real gummy and kind of starts sliding off of the transfer tape or the paper. I think the paper like kind of sucks it in.
Absorbs?
Absorbs. Yes, thank you, Sarah. Absorbs.
You're welcome.
So like you can see through the paper a lot easier when it's wet, as you can see there, as opposed to when it's dry.
So I missed the description. So in the water bottle is 2 drops of Dawn dish detergent and water. Hi Katie. I need that pink bus. I'll tell you about the pink bus when he's done. So those that want to not be tuned in for this can miss it. Thanks, CJ. Guys, I just had to tell you though, it's called a sip and spin. So it's an interesting story.
All the water out.
When you cut the first layer, did you offset it in order to do the layering?
Yes, it's an offset on there.
Woohoo! Up close and personal.